Good afternoon, everyone. This is the regular Call City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, October 14th, during the meeting at Jasper City Hall. This is called to order. Mr. Dewan Kyle. Mr. Kyle?
Yes.
Would you open us in word of prayer, please?
Yes. We bow heads. Most gracious Father, God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this time. We ask, God, that you would come and you would dwell in this meeting. You would be able to go forth, God, and that everything that is said, God, that you would be able to find it pleasing in your sight. We ask that you would continue to crown our heads, as well as our leaders' heads, with wisdom, insight, and knowledge and understanding. That, God, everything that we do, God, that you will find it pleasing as you make preparations for your kingdom to become. We thank you, we give you the glory, we give you the praise. In your son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Do we have any information from the departmental reports?
Mayor and council, last month y'all asked for the directors to give y'all a report to y'all. And so Bob and his public works director, Bob Gary, and Lee Wilmore, his electrical director, will give y'all reports today. And we'll be doing it each month. On that, and if Garrett and Brandon has also, they'll be up here giving y'all reports on that. And Brandon and Jeremy, he's out. He's sick today, but they'll be swapping out some, giving y'all reports on different things. So I'll let everyone's control.
Mayor, council, y'all that don't know, my name's Lee Wellman. I'm over the light and fire department and the rifle department. So, with that being said, we just look at the light and fire, kind of go over really the outages that we've had over the last month. There's 30 calls that our guys responded to, with most of those being with either animal contact of some sort or from right-of-way issues with trees, dead limbs falling on the line, but also with the green stuff. You know, it's amazing how many times that the top of a green trail just falling out. That being said, we'll move on to right away and see that they're busy trimming out the services. They're cutting. I think they cut 8 trees, which doesn't sound like a lot, but they cut them down and have to clean them up and then haul them off. They also trimmed out over 3,000 feet of line. They're staying pretty busy. If y'all have any questions, y'all have to ask me. Mayor?
Can you hear me now? I wanted to ask about the electric meters. We're replacing the meters, and I spoke to Mr. Kelly, and he said it was gonna make it easier for customers to see where the outages were and everything. Do you know when that will be completed?
Probably been about 6 months. I think it's gonna be around the first of the year we get the meters in, and installation of somewhere in 6 months.
Okay, and if I could ask one more question. A lot of the citizens have asked that recently their electric bill has increased. So Greg, is that due to the rebate? Can you say when the rebate stopped that was from last year that would have caused an increase to the electric bill?
August was no rebate, and that'll go through November.
So if their bill went up in August, this is because the rebate that they were receiving from last year's budget, it was $1 million, right, that we applied to the electric bills for everyone. And so in August, it stopped. And so that's why your bill has increased. But you're saying now that starting in November, is it?
Well, the bill will be December, so they'll pay that December bill in January. So December's bill will be the first one, other one that you all asked for.
So starting in December, it will go down, it will be lower because the council voted to place $1 million SRMPA towards everyone's electric rates.
Yes.
That's the only questions I have. Thank you.
Everybody else? Thank you.
They won't know, right?
They'll pay their bill at the end of December, for the month of December.
But the old bill will be in January. For December, you paid December.
Correct.
Evening, Mayor. So I'm gonna start off with, this is Public Works, the water production. We, pumped and treated a total of 42,840,000 gallons of water. They changed several pumps out, periodically, those pumps will fail, we have to take those off and get them rebuilt, we have spares to put on there. Changed a few of those, also, we done our, TCEQ lead and copper samples. We're required to do that every year, so we do those, take those and send those in. Water distribution, so we have contractors laying water line out 63 West. In September, they laid a little over 4,000 feet of water line out there, new line. We have a little bit of that charged and in service, but some of it's out of service right now until they get some more complete. They had several fire hydrants they've added to that, throughout that area. They done 24 water leaks, 2 taps, changed 14 meters. We also laid a line down around the park on the west end of the parking lot there for upcoming, any type of events, stuff that needs water. We have water there for those events. They also installed a 10-inch inserter valve and placed a hydrant on Calvin and Main Street. We had an old hydrant there that didn't have a valve on it, so we had to install a valve. We can do that and not disturb the water flow to our customers with this inserter valve. So, they were able to do that. It's a treatment plant. They treated a total of 21,668,000 gallons of water. The wastewater collection had 19 sewer calls that month. We had a contractor bore 360 feet of line over there on 6-inch sewer line on Marvin Hancock. And our crews laid 240 feet of 6-inch and set 2 manholes and taps for the new building that's coming in over there at the hospital district. Street and drainage department, total of patch, we done 25 tons of patch for potholes and also street repairs after water leaks. They mowed approximately 4.5 miles of street easement right away. We used 36 tons of reclaimed asphalt through our new asphalt recycler. That way they can go out and do street level ups and stuff like that and use our asphalt that we have on hand. Installed 15 tons of granite on our walking paths to the nature side of the park down here. And also we had to do some work on our Main Street bridge here. Had a little erosion, so they installed 120 tons of rock in the creek around the piles and stuff there. And that's gonna be about it for Public Works. You have any questions?
I got to watch your crew working on one of the streets. Very impressed in their professionalism. They came out with everything they needed, took care of business and left. It was really interesting to watch them. They were very thorough.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor, council. This past month for September, the fire department answered a total of 19 calls. Of those calls, we had 1 vehicle fire, 3 brush, grass, woods, tree fires, 1 motor vehicle accident, and 1 vehicle extrication when someone was trapped in a motor vehicle. We had 1 active fire alarm, 3 hazmat calls, which probably consisted of gas leaks, natural gas leaks most likely, or it could have been fuel spills or oil spills, something like that, maybe from accident. We had 5 unauthorized burns, which burning stuff they're not supposed to burn according to the ordinance. And we had other calls like limb lines and such. Had 4 of those. We pumped a total of 2,175 gallons of water. Also, in the past few days, I'll say the last couple of weeks, we've taught over 500 kids through our safety program. And we have several more schools to do throughout the rest of the month. Any questions?
I just have, go ahead, Bob. Go ahead.
I just wanted to, thank you guys and the gals who do the volunteer fire department. I sleep warm in my bed at night, and you guys get calls at all times. You sacrifice your family and your time, and put yourself at risk. And I appreciate what y'all do for that.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
We are currently under a burn ban.
That's correct.
I just want to remind everyone that
Yes,
we
ma'am.
are under a burn ban.
Thank you.
Good evening. All right, for the month of September, my guys wrote 102 incident reports, which can be anything from an information report to an actual incident. They answered 731 calls for service. They could be minor, could be major. It's just, they didn't differentiate all of them between all the guys and girls, 731. They had a total of 18 cases CID division was assigned to them. They cleared 15 of them, which is a pretty good clearance rate. Out of the month, 64 arrests were made. They wrote a total of 81 citations, 240 warnings, for a total of 321. And more warnings, they write a lot more warnings than they do citations. And we had 6 accidents for the month. I don't know if y'all read some of my newly put out public information deals. I've assigned my narcotics guys to basically call it the Safe Streets now. He's assigned to a newly constructed FBI task force. It's a violent crime task force. They basically work with each other, ATF, DEA, DPS, a bunch of guys are all work together and they work all this area of Beaumont and everywhere else. But just around here, they've seized 4 firearms that's linked, and one of them is linked to an ongoing investigation. 6 search warrants were executed, firearms and other evidence. 6 arrests were made for drug, weapons, and felony offenses, included fugitives that were wanted. And narcotics that were seized were marijuana, methamphetamines, illicit pills, and prescription medications. Basically, questions? I don't have anything about kids, so. Thank you. Can't follow up with that.
Thank you for what y'all did.
Appreciate it.
I did it.
But everybody goes there and they help, so I can't do that by myself.
All the reports, Greg? Okay. We need to move into public comments. Ms. Thomas, you're up. Ms. Thomas, you got 3 minutes.
Okay, for 1 minute.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Once again, I'm Rita Thomas. I'm president of the Pillow community here in Houston. Here in Jasper and Houston. And I am a Dallas Cowboy fan. Look here. I want to say this to the council. I want to thank Mamie and I want to thank Angela for coming out to our bingo that we have had this week. As a city council member, y'all all have duties to do, not just sit around at the meetings and just talk about this here, but you have a civic duty to go out in the community and make things happen. We're trying to build a positive atmosphere on getting our senior citizens out of the house. They sit in the house all day long. They bored, a lot of them in a wheelchair. You know, some of them don't have kids, so they're stuck in the house. So the Pillow community is putting the program together and with help with some of our leaders. I don't see him, but Ray Lewis let us use his facilities. So be a part of something positive.
Amen.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Who want to be something good? Who want to be a part of something that's positive? Raise your hand up. So now, when we have our next bingo, and I want to thank Bob, because he stopped by there a couple times, got a piece of cornbread. So when we have our next event, it's gonna be in December, and we'd like to invite y'all to come back out and help serve, and Bob, you come help serve too.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cause
You can't have it, two of it in a room, three
Yep.
would be a quorum.
so,
At a public event.
well, but Bob, you stay home. Way too much cornbread. So y'all, make this a joyful occasion. You know, let's make it happen. Think about our senior citizens. Some of them retired, and some of them is old school teachers. Some of them is old chicken factory workers. They all is old, and they need some love. They know show somebody to care for them. We did some good bingo this yesterday. We had 27 senior citizens there over 70 years old. Ain't that a blessing? It's a blessing. That's a blessing. A lot of them on the wheelchairs and stuff like that, but they came in there and they enjoyed themselves. They left there smiling and full. All right, Duckworth. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if this is appropriate, but I would like to mention that we had 40 volunteers at the food pantry on the first Thursday of the month, which is pretty well standard. Jasper people are fantastic.
They are.
They're absolutely
They really are.
fantastic.
Mr. Norsworthy, you're up. Mr. Norsworthy, you have 3 minutes. Thank you, sir. Madam McLean, Councilman Pro Tem Marcus Horn, Council Lady McCoskey, Councilman Lady Horn, Councilman Bob Mayhorn. I would like for everyone in here to go to Dollar General, Dollar Tree, Walmart, and buy a set of towels and give them to all of the Cowboy fans because they're gonna be crying all evening. I had to put that out there. But let me be serious for a moment. I certainly want to thank all of you guys for the service, all of you council, ladies and gentlemen, for the service you provide us, the citizens, in helping make things better for our city. Thank you for allowing your families to be sacrificed, to allowing you to serve. Thank all of you. We can put a hand on that. And now with all of that being said, Chief Foster, would you come forward? Yes, sir. On behalf of our president, Dr. Ron McMurray, myself, Vice President, we want to present you this medical kit. Every tag on here tells you everything that's in there. You also have 8 more Stop the Bleeding kits. Everything you need is in this kit. You also can perform minor surgery. With the things that are in here. You can see all of the tags. Our name is on the top. And it's quite expensive, but we made the sacrifice.
Well, I appreciate it.
Because this is you all's money that we're spending to hopefully make your job just a little bit easier.
Yeah, that would be great for tactical medic.
But I ask that you do one thing.
What's that?
Take all of this out of there and let me have the backpack for honey. But I really want to say.
You gonna keep these on there?
Yes.
You gonna rename them?
Yeah, well, that lets you know everything.
Oh, I know, I'm saying, you gonna keep it for honey, you gonna put something else on there like call, dopey.
Yeah, all of that. But if you look inside, man, it's everything that you're gonna need.
Yeah, that's neat. That right there is very nice.
Y'all get a picture of it.
Yeah. Pass it on.
Hold on, I'll get the picture, hold on.
Yeah, because my phone was off.
Here you go, guys, smile.
Billy to the rescue.
Perfect. Got it.
Zoom in though.
That'd probably tear my phone.
I heard that.
Thank you, Council. Ronnie, would you like to also mention y'all done a great job?
Thank you so much. We have a few obstacles, but, you know, struggles only make us stronger.
I got it. That concludes the public comment, and we need to move down to, number one, the presentation of the final forensic audit report. And Mr. Jack, would you please, Jack Raymond, would you please come forward and give us a report?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jack, J-A-C-K, Regan, R-E-A-G-A-N, no relation. As a government guy dyed in the wool, you walk into a room full of people like this that don't know who you are. Half the room generally dislikes you because of your last name. Then you introduce yourself as an auditor and you lose the rest of the room. It makes it kind of a tough occupational hazard for the last name. I'm a managing director with UHY. We're a national public accounting firm, depending on the day of the metric, around the 25th largest in the United States. I've been doing government audits for 36 years. Come by it very honestly. My father was a career Internal Revenue Service employee. My mother was a grant accountant for the county I grew up in. And I have the pleasure of presenting you the results of the forensic audit that you guys hired us to do. You know, and appreciate the turnout here tonight. It's always heartening to see the civic action as I travel around the country. You should have a copy of the slide deck in front of you and also a copy of the report. I'm not going to read the report word for word, but I'll hit some of the highlights, some of the things that I think that you know, you as those charged with fiscal oversight should focus in on in the results of this report. So we were hired by you to review the financial requirements, terms, and activities of the Jasper United contract. We wanted to look at related party transactions, so those that were conducted in the normal course of business between the city and its employees. Look at any conflicts of interest that may be present in those transactions. Review the financial activity and the contracts associated with the DebtCog building. And we did a little bit of a dive into Proposition A and how those rates relate to what you're currently charging to what you could be charging under Proposition A. And we also did a very deep dive, a 100% look, and that's probably one of the big things about a forensic audit, is that we're looking at 100% of the transactions in those areas versus a financial statement audit where you're getting a sample of items. But we looked at the expenses paid by the city utilizing the Cambridge project funds. So let's dive in. Let's talk about the Jasper United. So I am up now in the report starting on page 10. And as you know, this was an economic development agreement. We gave Provalis, I don't butcher the name, Provalis, put the emphasis on the wrong syllable all the time when I say that. You know, you gave them some money, they were supposed to give you jobs, create jobs in the community. Pretty common arrangement as I travel around the country. There are provisions in the contract that say you have the right to go in and look at the data supporting the information that they give you about how many jobs got created. So on page, let's see here, now I'm up to page 12 of the report. You've got a table that shows by year how many contractually obligated full-time equivalents they were supposed to provide in exchange for the money, and then how much they actually reported. You see the timing by year. The good thing is that it does appear based on what they gave you that they created the level of jobs that they were supposed to. where you have opportunities to improve on, in future arrangements such as this, is that the timing of some of the payments from the city to the entity were not in accordance with the contract. Some were made a little bit too soon, others weren't made soon enough. And you ended up paying the right amount out, but the timing of the payments over the 5 years was not correct. The other thing that I see, and you are not alone in this, I can't tell you the number of governments where I've looked at these economic development incentive contracts and seen that you didn't exercise your authority to be able to go in and look at the supporting documentation for the reports that they were sending you, basically doing an audit of that information that they're sending you to make sure that the amount of jobs they reported to you were in fact W-2 jobs that were created. You can see on page, let's see here, page 14. What we tried to do is to look at the information that the city itself did receive from the business, and you can see that there were very little monitoring of that contract during the period of the Economic Development Incentive Agreement. Again, the city's not alone in not doing that, but anytime you enter into a contract like that, you're going to want to monitor it. When I started in this business 36 years ago, the old saw in government was what gets measured gets done. I have come to evolve my thinking on that because we measure everything. You heard from your department directors, all the performance metrics that they measure. But what gets done is when folks like this monitor those performance metrics. So in this case, what we're recommending is any of these agreements, make sure that you're monitoring them on a quarterly, semi-annual, annual basis. You're sending somebody out to tick and tie, some of that supporting documentation that comes back in. Again, under this agreement, based on the information that we saw, it looks like all the jobs that should have been created over the 5 years were created, and that the city didn't overpay the economic development incentive to them, but the timing of the payments was not necessarily in accordance with the contract. So moving on to the related party transactions. For the most part, we saw, actually for the vast majority of the expenses, they were in accordance or in the normal course of business, had appropriate supporting documentation justifying the business reason for the expense, but where we strongly recommend that the city adopt a stronger policy is that there is a Texas regulation that requires conflicts of interest statements to be filed by members of management and others at the city. And what I see going around the country is that generally the clerk of the board or someone in that level, it could be, if there's not a clerk of the board, it could be the city manager's office, responsible for gathering those annually and having those available to demonstrate that you're complying with that very critical regulation. All right, now let's go into the debt cog building. And what we found there was that
Mr. Jack, what page are you on?
now we're up to page 17. Thanks, sir. Sorry about that. What we found there is that in and around October 18th to December 19th, the rent started changing. We're in Corvallis, got it right this time. Moved into the building, the rent came down, but the debt payment stayed the same. So the previous lease amount was set at a level to where you were recovering the debt service that you incurred on the building. After, in January 2020 and for years after that, the rent that you were collecting, the lease that you were collecting was insufficient to cover the debt service. So when you added together the loan payments and the operating expenses of the building, looking on page 17, and you deducted out the rental income that actually ended up going away starting in 2021, you're left cumulatively with about a $750 million loss in operating that building for the period 2019 through 2023, which was the scope of what we looked at.
What was that number again?
751,000.
Yeah.
750,000. Now leave the 1,000 out there. Oh, I say million? 750,000. Three quarters of $1 million. Yeah, I'm from Loudoun County. We're data center central.
Here, we need your medical pay.
I know, right? But 750,000, so $750,000 that there was an operating loss on that. Now, the vast majority of that was the debt service, but there was still, so it's critical for this group to look at, how you can incentivize others to do loans or to lease out that space, possibly sell the space, repurpose it, but you've got some carrying costs there that are associated with it. I know several communities that I've dealt with over the past couple of years, they took some of their American Rescue Plan Act money, some of their ARPA money, and created some business incentives, some leasing programs to incentivize businesses to lease out some of that downtown space. Let's see here, now we're up to Proposition A. And, we went through Proposition A, we went through a couple of other reports that the city has had provided to it by other professional services firms, and I'm on page 19. We put together a chart that shows by rate class the percentage of utility rates below the maximum amount allowable under Proposition A that you are charging the residents. Okay, so for purposes of this, let's just use the residential rate class. In fiscal year 22, you could have charged 19% more. For 23, you could have charged 22% more under Proposition A, and so on down that chart. I thought it was good to show that in one place. Rates are very difficult to do, but especially since you had the proposition change, I thought it was important to pull together a nice chart for you to see, especially as you start launching into next year's budget discussions and things like that. Hey, what sort of wiggle room do you have on the upside if you need to be able to increase rates and still fall within the provisions of Proposition A. Rate setting is inherently political. Anytime folks set rates, there's a spillover room, people come into the public comment period, my time gets pushed way, way back to the end of the meeting. We go late into the night, so I understand that. All we were trying to do here is to arm you with the data that you need as you fulfill that very important role that you fulfill in approving the budget annually and approving these rates. And then finally, the Cambridge project. I'm very pleased to be able to tell you that, we looked at 100% of the payments there, the 36.9 million with an M, get that one right, of capital projects payments that were made on the Cambridge project. Every single one of those was supported. Every single one of those looked like it had a valid business purpose to it. And every single one of those was presented to this board, to this council for approval. Now, the three columns to the left on the chart on page 20, the cleaning payments, the maintenance payments, and the utility payments, those operating expenditures associated with Jasper United in this project were not presented to this board in a manner similar to all that $36.9 million. And it sort of stuck out to me as an inconsistency. It seemed to me that if this was a big enough project where you were exercising your oversight, that you wanted to have everything associated with that brought through. So we wanted you to have management look at drafting a policy that will allow for a consistent presentation of those sort of expenditures to you for your review and approval. Now, I've done a lot of forensic audits over the years. I've seen a lot of very ugly and awful things with the way that public money's been spent. I didn't see any of that here. Okay. Now, did I see some things in terms of administrative procedures, reviews, documented, consistent policies of what gets brought to this board for its review and approval? Yes. The biggest comment I think that grows out of this, the one that I think is the most serious, is the conflict of interest. I think adopting those conflict of interest statements, making sure that you're filing those annually so that you're demonstrating compliance with the Texas laws and regulations is critical. And then there are a couple of other recommendations in here for documentation. There was one sole source procurement that was done where the level of documentation to justify the sole source was not maintained. It's not to say it was a bad procurement or anything like that, it's just the justification was not. And sole source procurements get a bad rap. We always want to have competition to make sure that we get the best price and the best quality. But there are some times where it absolutely makes the most business sense to sole source something, but you got to document why that's the case. And that's the documentation that needs, again, the policy needs to be developed so that when you do a sole source procurement, you're maintaining that documentation. And finally, the last one, again, is for any of these large contracts, and I include the economic development incentive contracts in there, you're going to want to have an annual monitoring plan with those, that you sit down and you make sure that folks are complying with all of those contract terms and conditions. Mr. City Manager, your staff was great to work with on all of this. You guys were great. We made it work. I'm up in the DC metro area. Thank you for letting me come down here and get out of that place for a little while. I appreciate that very much. My team came up from San Antonio. We were extended every courtesy. Folks were extremely open. Anytime you start throwing around the words forensic and audit, some people may tend to tighten up with very candid conversations about the process and how things work. Staff was extraordinarily cooperative in all of this, and just appreciate the opportunity to serve this council, its management, its citizens, and I'll entertain any questions you may have.
May I be recognized? May I be recognized? This report, is this public record? Or can we speak freely about it? Because the report that you've just given us is real broad. And so I just have a few questions about some specific things that you found. So this is public record. I can speak about anything that's in this report. I wanted to ask a question about Jasper United, because you pointed out in the report, I believe there's a graph on page 13 and 14. And on page 13, at the bottom of the page, it says, quote, "As stated above, Jasper United has the right to request payroll and IRS documentation to ensure the Provalis reports are accurate and complete. However, this was not conducted for all of reported employees. Along with the Provalis reports of reported employees obtained from JEDCO, we also requested the payroll reports, W-2s, IRS 940, 941, to validate the employment and reported employees. The city obtained from JEDCO and provided 12 payroll reports, 47 W-2s, and 0 IRS forms." And it also says, in addition to the lack of documentation, the Provalis reports were not certified by an authorized officer of Provalis that the reports were true and correct per section 6 of the agreement outlined above. So my question is that Jasper United records are housed here at the city or at JEDCO?
I'm gonna say maybe a combination, I don't know. I know what we have, and what, were invoices and checks and what have you. I had to dig for some of these things that they asked for, and I had to reach out some to JEDCO to try to get some of that information, and that was after Mr. Hopkins was no longer there.
Yes, because that's kind of my question, because I believe the project was like almost $4 million, right? It was almost $4 million. And for the records that you requested, the first year, 45 W-2s were provided, no payroll reports, no IRS reports. For the second year, no payroll reports, 12 payroll reports, 2 W-2s. I'm sorry, this is on page 14.
Yep.
On the third year, there were no payroll reports, no W-2s, no IRS forms. In the fourth year, no payroll reports, no W-2s, no IRS forms. In the fifth year, no payroll reports, no W-2s, no IRS forms. So I agree with your assessment that how do you know how to pay out these incentives if you have no records at all? I mean, it was in the contract that they were supposed to be providing every year a report every month. And so the information that you went off of was from Provalis. There was none provided, almost none provided from Jasper United.
So there were two waves of things, right? So there's a monthly report that comes in, and there's the actual support that exists behind it. We took several swings at trying to get the stuff that was behind it. The chart on page, make sure I get the page number right, on page 12, on the new hires was the information that was actually provided in the top level report. As we tried to get the detail, couldn't get it. We took several swings, and that's why we called it out so strongly on page 14.
Yes, so we provided, like I said, almost $4 million to this company with this joint partnership, with this joint venture with JEDCO, and we could prove almost none of the jobs were provided with our documentation. Is that correct?
We gave everything we had, and that's from the previous administrations on both groups. So,
Yes, because I'm not the only council member who asked for these. In fact, back in January, a former council member, September, asked about this during a JEDCO board meeting, and he was told by the former executive director, quote, he was told by the board that there were 220 employees there in employment and that tax documents are on record with Jasper United to support the numbers. But your audit has concluded that is not so.
We were not provided any of that information. What I have seen done as a result of audits like this is that, a board such as yours will have the city attorney draft a demand letter saying, in accordance with such and such contract clause, we are asking for the following support. And you list it out, bullet by bullet in accordance with the contract. We took several swings at it, and, at some point, we had to stop the work and bring it to everybody's attention, and that's why we called it out so strongly in the report, and it's even bolded.
Yes, I would be interested, I don't know if the other council members would be interested in having our city attorney take a look at this contract and whether the requirements were met, with this contract, because like I said, it is an enormous amount of money that was paid out, with this, joint venture and this agreement at JEDCO. And I would have to say, going forward as a council member, I feel that we need to really be on top of the decisions that are made at JEDCO, because this is the people's money, and this was almost $4 million that can't be accounted for, almost not at all. I mean, even when I asked where the Jasper United records are housed, some are here, some are there, but it does not prove 5 years of a contract, according to the auditor. Is that correct,
No,
sir?
and mind you, what we're looking at are the jobs that were created. You know, it's unclear to me where the $4 million you're coming up with came from. There were $360,000 worth of economic incentive payments that were triggered by the creation of a certain number of jobs. We were given, you know, top level information that showed here's what the payments were based on. When we went behind it to try and get that information, either from city employees or from others, I know you guys went back to them as well, you know, that information was not provided. So, you know, from my mind, I was looking at what the basis was for the $360,000 payment from the city for the economic development incentive.
Yes, sir, I see what you're saying, that the $360,000 was paid out accordingly. I was just mentioning that you received no information from Jasper, so jobs provided, how could they be proven if there was no reports, no W-2s, no, all the things that I listed, other than they said we did?
There was, again, that's what we had, that top level report, and then, as you saw, a couple of payroll reports in year 2, a couple of W-2s in year 1, and very few in year 2, and then nothing after that.
Was Corvallis ever asked to give their records?
It was required in a contract to report every month in the contract, and correct me if I'm wrong, but every month they were supposed to give a report every month for 5 years. That was the contract.
Yep. So
Every
I have to
single
go back
one.
and look and see whether Corvallis was specifically requested. I'll report back to you through the city manager.
And I would just also like to mention, that you did mention, that there were incentives that were given, with SRMPA funds that were not approved by council. And those were the incentives that were paid to Provalis. I believe it was $247,615. And, I believe that should have come before the council. As far as general operations goes, unless someone else has any other questions, I don't want to, does anybody else want to ask any other questions? As far as general operations go, what you found is that, the city of Jasper was not in compliance with the Texas local, government code. And that's state law that requires everyone sign a conflict of interest form. And just in the few short years that we looked at, $591,621 was received by personnel to a city employee. That correct? Am I correct with that?
Yep.
And that is against the law, correct?
I don't know whether it's against the law or not. What I will say is that the city, in my opinion, is not complying with the code, saying that you've declared the conflicts of interest that are out there. The documentation that we were shown, that we had, all looked like it had a very valid business purpose to it. So whether or not it's against the law to make those payments, I don't know that. There was a valid business reason for the payments, but what underpins those transactions should have been the disclosure that this conflict of interest exists, that we're doing this business with this related party, and there's an annual requirement to declare that.
And there were no conflicts of interest until your audit, correct? But there are now. I believe there was a corrective measure that everyone
I think there have been some
signs.
corrective measures taken since. then.
Yes, and one of the things that you also recommended was that all elected officials and appointed officers are also required, to sign a conflict of interest, and I think that's also a good idea. Our JEDCO board, I don't know if they've signed a conflict of interest, but that is one of the recommendations you made, correct?
So it's elected officials, appointed boards, senior levels of management, and it even goes down to, in most places where I see these policies, it goes down to anyone that's involved in the purchasing procurement function that's out there. So it may go down to more line employees, below management that are specifically involved in procurement and purchasing.
Yes, sir. And you also mentioned that the rent with the DECOG building changed, where originally, I think it dropped to $8,000 a month beginning in October 2019.
Yep.
And Provalis began renting this building, and I believe they were renting the building for $3,300, is it $3,300?
Yeah, that's the number, where is that?
Yes, $3,225 a month, so that is a pretty huge increase, decrease. And if I could ask you, Greg, the sale of this building has came before the council a couple of times, and each time there's been calls to lower the cost of this building so that we can sell it. But the auditor is recommending that we at least try to recover our costs to this building, so what is the status of the building currently?
We've come back to y'all 3 separate times and ran in the paper. This last time we rented Lufkin, Beaumont, Houston, and, what other one? That was it. And we rented some of them for as long as 30 days. We have not got a bid on this building at all.
And what was the price that we listed at this last time, if you could, do you
We
know?
didn't list the prices last time.
Okay.
The first time we did $750.
Mhm.
The second time, I think y'all did $600. And after that, we didn't even give a price on it this time.
Okay,
Just to see if we got a bid on it, but nobody wants to buy it. And
yes.
so I'm gonna be working with Billy about seeing what we can do, since we have the due diligence to try to auction it off and go buy a quote and see if there's anything else we can do, the state allows, that we can do possibly to put a for sale sign on it to try to get rid of it.
Yes, because absolutely it needs to be sold, I agree with that. However, the auditor did mention in the report that we should at least try to recover the cost, the cost to the city of Jasper. And the cost to the city of Jasper, is a lot higher than that.
I would like for y'all to come look at it, because it is in bad shape on part of that building. It's got a water problem, it needs to be fixed. We've worked on it some, but it's gonna take more money than we wanna spend on it right now, I think, to fix that problem. Had several people look at it, and, it's not gonna be a cheap fix.
Do you?
Did you get an estimated cost to repair?
It's gonna be, we hadn't broke it down, but I'm gonna say it's gonna be $200,000 to $300,000 to fix the problem out there.
Do you know why the rent was lowered, from 8,000, to just over 3,000 for Provalis?
8,000, I believe, is what DECOG was paying,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure why they gave it to Provalis for the 3,000.
DECOG was actually paying what we were paying in lease payments. So
Correct.
it might have been, 15,000 up through that last part. 8,000 is what it dropped to with Provalis to have.
The best we know,
But we don't know.
back when they made the deal with DECOG, it was a pass-through, whatever the monthly
Yes.
note was, is what they paid. And then, when they decided to move, nobody put a clause back in there years ago that they could just move and leave us with the bills. But that was 23 years ago.
So as it stands right now, it doesn't look like we're gonna be able to recover the money, that we've put into the building.
Not unless we do some more major, the building appraised it a couple of years ago at $1.something million. It's 12,500 square foot building. We might be able to do some fixing on it, get some better pricing, and maybe get it cheaper than 200,000, but that north wall has some problems. It's got water coming into it, and it's caused the center blocks are starting to get weak and crumble. So, that's just, it's a 20-some-odd-year-old building too. And they hadn't had a lot of maintenance done to it for the year, because they were supposed to do a lot of maintenance on it. I don't think they was held back.
While I still have you, The auditor also mentioned, that of the $36 million that was given to the council gave, SRMPA, of that money, the $247,615 was paid to Provalis without council approval. Do you know why?
It was in the contract to pay for the utilities. It was in that contract, except for the gas, and then, but they paid the gas also. I don't know why, it was a couple $1,000, I believe, on the gas.
And the $80,000 expense for the fiber optic, that was a sole source contract. Do you know why, that contract was a sole source contract?
We was building we have a fiber project we did, we linked our city buildings together and does the cameras in the park and some of that, and when we was doing that, it's kind of a sole source for that company to build it. Yes, we could get somebody else to come in, it's gonna cost us more money to get somebody to come add to it. We added cameras at the PD that year and several other things, and it put us over that 50,000, so that's what they did.
And that rationale is exactly the right business purpose for doing a sole source award if you document it. And it's so, again, you have that documentation to justify exactly that logic as to why it's most advantageous to use those public funds in a sole source award and not put it out for bid. I see that a lot in technology, in fiber, in public safety communications equipment, where police have got a contract, fire's got a contract. Well, we're gonna make sure they're able to talk the same way, so we're gonna sole source that award to that company, so because we're already in their technology ecosystem, but it's got to be documented.
And it wasn't, correct?
It was not.
That's just a single sheet of paper, people sign off of it, stating why it was a single source.
Yep, so, and usually, I would recommend on something that large, that the sole source award be reviewed, approved by this guy, and brought to you for your approval. That it's a sole source award, because everybody on a procurement, say over $50,000, it's a reasonable expectation that we're gonna put that out for bid. So if you don't put it out for bid, you have to justify why and bring it up through the appropriate levels, city manager, board approval, to show the citizens that this is the logical reason why we've chosen not to go out for competitive bid. And it's very open, it's very transparent.
And I'm assuming it'd be the same thing on bids if you didn't go to the lowest bid. You may not
Correct.
always want to go to the lowest bid, but you need to document why you did not do it.
Exactly, and in any, that's known as a best value procurement, where you line up the bids, you look at the technical specs, you look at the cost, and in total, you decide what is the best value to the city when you make that award, especially if it is not going to the lowest price bidder. Most of the time as well, you have some sort of scoring rubric out there, which will say, it's 75% technical and 25% cost, so that all the bidders know that it's not necessarily going to be awarded to the lowest cost bidder, because there's that element of, scoring that goes into that.
And if I could ask you, with Proposition A, you also stated that the city didn't have any documentation of its own calculation of utility rates for the fiscal years under review. That there was no documentation for those years.
Correct.
For the electric rates. And also you say that Proposition A is in effect currently. That it is in place, Proposition A, 10%. The city of Jasper shall not charge more than 10% above cost of any utility it provides to its customers.
Correct.
Correct. And before this, there was another ordinance that was in place. And so you determined with your audit, can you talk about a little bit about how this changed, and that's how you knew that this is in place?
Well, we looked at the cost. We looked at the cost, we looked at what you were recovering. You're not recovering your cost, So by definition, you're not gonna be at above, 10%. So it's a math issue. It didn't have anything to do with prior, the prior rate setting or anything like that. It's purely under Proposition A. You've got your costs, here's how much you're allowed to charge. We looked at what you charged. You were charging, for residential, 19% in 2022, below the cost.
40% on some.
Yeah. Yeah, so there is some, as much as folks don't like to hear it, there is some wiggle room for the city to be able to raise those rates and still be in accordance with the proposition capping the utility rates.
And Mr. Kelly, before this, Proposition A, it was at 3%, and now it is at 10%.
Correct.
That's all the questions I have.
Can I say one thing? Our staff did a wonderful job during this. Robbie, Liz, Taylor, Kim spent hours and hours and hours. This room, we had tables set all in here, and they took 25 boxes at a time from our storage building up there and brought it here, scanned every bit of it in, went along with his other crew come from San Antonio, real good crew that come here. And, went through all this, whatever document we could find, we could put our hands on to go through this audit, to do it correctly for what y'all wanted done. But they did an excellent job getting all that together. So I just want to say that, we all knew that.
The fact that, especially that $36 million, that every single document there was accounted for, so it's pretty good. That was actually mildly surprising, given the entities that I have worked with before and the troubles they've had finding documentation that goes back, especially if you're doing a forensic audit where you're going back a period of several years. It gets harder and harder to find documents with the passage of time.
Wow, thank you.
This was an enjoyable one. Again, it's the people that made it very enjoyable. The fact that everybody was very transparent and open was very welcome.
If I could just say one more thing, an internal audit, because we have an audit every year, an internal yearly audit.
Yep.
It's very different from what you did, which is a forensic audit,
Right.
which is narrow in scope, because I would just like to point out that even though we have an internal audit every year, yearly, none of these things that you guys uncovered, I think we had you look at 6 areas and you found something in all 6.
Right.
Were ever mentioned to us by our yearly auditor, nor were any recommendations to fix anything because they never mentioned that to us. So it's very different, a forensic audit, not an internal audit, correct?
Or the annual financial statement audit, yeah, there's a concept called materiality there, where when you're doing a financial statement audit, and I've done, I think the technical term is a bazillion of them in my career, we're drawing samples. So we may look at 5% of the transactions or 10% of the transactions. So, we may have looked at if it was a $36 million contract over 5 years, we may have looked at $3 or $4 million worth of that in the course of a financial statement audit. We looked at all 36 million in this forensic audit. If you do a lot more testing as part of the financial statement audit, the cost goes way, way, way up as well on those. So forensic audits are needed when there is concern about how the funds have been spent, and you want to see, again, whether there was any fraud. That is really the main reason for a forensic audit. This was a sort of a hybrid between a forensic audit and what I call a performance audit, which was looking at the effectiveness and the efficiency of the controls in these areas that will result in some recommendations that say, if we do this better, it's going to result in X, Y, and Z. So, and I try very hard in any of the work that we do to leave behind reasonable recommendations that are practical for implementation at the entity. I could come in and say you need to hire 5 more people to create all these checks and balances. Your budget can't afford to have something like that. So we spend a lot of time working with management at the end of the report saying, all right, what kind of recommendations can we make based on the findings that we had during our audit that can actually be implemented by the entity and that you can hold them accountable for. So one of the things I would suggest coming out of this is that for any of the recommendations that management have a corrective action plan where they're listing, okay, here's the recommendation from the UHY report, here's what we're doing about it, here's when it's gonna get implemented, and here's who's gonna implement it. 4 columns. Real straightforward. Finding, or the recommendation, what's gonna be the new control, when's it gonna be implemented, and who's gonna implement it. I think that's a very reasonable request for you to be able to make of management.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I sure appreciate it because the things that we had you guys look at were questions that, some questions that people had for years.
Yep.
And so I think it's very helpful. I would have to encourage everyone in the public to please get a copy of it if you have any questions, because I think that's a good idea. I think it's gonna go a long way to restore public trust here to the city of Jasper. So I think this was a very good thing for us to do.
If you look on page 24,
Yep.
the recommendation was made to us, and we've already made
Implemented a
that,
couple, yeah.
implemented it, and it's there. The,
Yep.
conflict of interest forms was done back in, y'all know y'all signed them. And we changed the policies about signatures, who needs to look at it. Some of it was, on some of the requisitions, the employees, rather than signing it, they was typing their name. So, that's all been changed, so y'all have the recommendations on page 24, 25, and 26.
Yep. And you can see, if I may, in this, you were talking about the confidence in the administration. If you go back at the very beginning, on page 7, you'll see this cube, which is the internal control framework that we use to evaluate whether or not controls are designed appropriately and operating effectively. And the very one at the top is called control environment. And one of the things that's inherent in control environment is what we call the tone at the top. Is management wanting to do the right thing the right way the first time? And by developing this corrective action, incorporating it already, some of these findings, not waiting around until the formal acceptance by this board of the forensic report, by implementing those controls already, that establishes that very strong tone at the top that they want to do the right thing the right way the first time. So I commend management for doing that.
What kind of grade would you give our city?
For these particular areas that I looked at, especially for your size, where you don't, and I've audited Washington DC. I've audited New York City Public Schools. I've audited ICE and CIS. So I've audited multi-billion-dollar entities that have thousands of employees. You've got dozens, right? So you can't have the same level of redundant controls that those guys do. BB plus, I would say. I think, the 2 things that stuck out at me were the conflicts of interest. That's a pretty big deal to me. That's already been taken care of. And then the contract monitoring, again, on the economic development incentives, those sort of things. That's actually pretty common to have some weaknesses in those, even at large entities. But I'd say BB plus.
You think?
Because I'm a tough grader.
For our size and scope.
For your size and scope, yeah, the folks you're doing good.
Okay.
In the areas we looked at. I got to caveat it to the areas that we looked at.
Would you go to page 5 and read that first line item?
I can do that. insisted that was in there. We did not identify any instances of fraud.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
That's a nice note to end it on. Again, thank you very much for the time, the courtesy extended to us. You didn't know us from anybody when you hired us, and we really appreciate the opportunity to serve the city. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're ready to move on to item number 2. Consider for approval 2 sets of minutes from September 23rd and September 29th. Do I hear a motion?
I made a motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Horn and Mr. Cross. Motion and second.
Holmes.
We're up for discussion, and we're gonna go to, Ms. Horn. Do you have any comments or questions?
No.
Mr.
None.
McCall? Mr. Horn? Ms. Horn,
That's good.
what, please vote, raise your hand, say aye.
To approve the minutes?
Approve these minutes.
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 3, consider approval. We have an A and a B. We're gonna combine these if we don't have any objections. We've got a resolution designated authorized signatures pertaining to the DRRP from the contract numbers 25-143, 010, F346, and 25-143, 011, F347. That's under GLO contracts number 25-143, 010, F346, and 25-143, 01, F47. That's resolution A. Resolution B is the civil rights resolution for GLO contracts 25-143, 010, F346, and 25-143, 011, F347.
Make a motion, we approve, A and B on the resolution.
Do I hear a second?
That's it.
Yeah. Approve it and second.
Excuse me, Mayor. Did you want Susan to come and tell us what the grant is for?
That would be great, because I don't know.
Okay, with you, is that council?
Yeah.
I'll make this very brief because you all have done this before. Susan Stover with Waxman Incorporated, a grant administrator. The city received 2 disaster recovery reallocation program grants, one for sewer improvements throughout the city and one for water improvements, which would improve the water line along Live Oak out to the Gilgal area west of town, increasing that capacity, add fire hydrants and so forth. So as part of the startup process for these grants, we have to do 2 resolutions. Resolution A is your signatory resolution, which lets the grant and the agency know who is allowed to sign contractual obligations for the grant and who's allowed to sign the payment requests for the grant. And normally the mayor and the city manager are authorized to sign the contractual
contractual obligations, and the city manager, city secretary, and the finance director are the three individuals who are allowed to sign on the payment request. So that is your resolution A, and it comes with a signature page that includes the signatures of those three staff members. Resolution B is your civil rights resolution. I was here not too long ago on a different grant doing the same thing, so I won't go through all of them. But each time you have a new grant, you have to resolve as a city that you adhere to all of these civil rights requirements for federal government grants, including a citizen participation plan, your Section 3 plan, your excessive force policy, your Section 504 policy, your limited English proficiency plan, and your fair housing policy, all of which are attached to your resolution, and the city has adhered to these for many, many years on your grants. If anyone has specific questions about any of those, I'd be happy to address them, but that is at the 50,000 foot what these two resolutions are.
Thank you.
Ms. Horn, do you have any discussion on this?
Done.
Okay. Vote time. Ms. Horn, raise your hand and vote, please.
Point of order. Why are we doing it this way?
I'm having a hard time doing the minutes because there's either a hand raised or I'm missing some, I'm getting them once I watch a video or something, but in order for me to have better,
Process.
yeah, if they can get a yes or a no from each of you down the line, it'd be easier on me.
Mr. Waters.
So we just do a roll call vote each one to make it easier for that situation. So just yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution. Item number 4, consider for approval, approve recommended bid for the advanced meeting
Metering.
installations. Metering infrastructure, that is the water meters.
Well, electric and water meters.
Electric
This
and
is
water.
mainly, well, this part of it's just electric meters. This is Jared, y'all been in for, he's our electrical engineer. Y'all voted on this several months ago to go out for bids on this, and Jared's not for bids, so I'm gonna give you all the ins and outs on it, it's gonna come back cheaper than what we originally thought.
What we had originally asked for, back, a few months ago was, the approval of the budget for, going out to get bids for the advanced meters. These are smart meters that will replace the existing electric meters that you guys have. As it stands right now, it's my understanding that you're having trouble, getting repairs on some of the meters, and they no longer offer replacements, so the meters that you have right now are obsolete. For that reason, not only that reason, but for that main reason, we went out for bids and asked for prices for advanced metering that would improve the city's function with the electric system. And with that, we received only one bid after advertising, and it was from KBS Electric in the amount of $1,660,923.27. Our original budget was over $2 million, so we are below budget on the amount that was bid. There were a couple of additive alternates that were listed that we had requested information for. One of those was a meter testing station, which the electric department has requested. This will allow for if you have any customers who are complaining that they think their meter is not working properly, that their bill is too high, then they would be able to bring that meter in and test it here in the city instead of having to ship it off somewhere else to have it tested and verified that it's working properly. So we got that amount, is $25,000, that can be added to the base amount of the project. And we definitely recommend that, especially because we are below budget. The other item was an additional option for a premium support plan, and especially for the first year of the implementation of this new system. For that reason, we would recommend the addition of this, which is in the amount of $16,500. It should help to make a smooth transition to the new metering system. And with this metering system, you'll be able to have more reports. You'll be able to have more monitoring for all of the meters that you have. It'll be real time and 24/7 monitoring for all of the meters. And so if you have one house whose power goes out, you'll be able to tell that from the system. It will notify you. Also, if you have major outages, such as a thunderstorm comes through, or even a hurricane, whenever we re-energize, we will re-energize several streets at a time. But there may be someone whose meter loop was damaged, or there may be something wrong with their transformer. So we may be thinking, everybody on these 5 streets, their power is back on, and then it may be a few hours later that they call in and say, my power never came on. And so this will help to identify those as well, this new system will. And it will also help you to provide more reporting to the PUC, which they are in the process of asking for from all of the different electric utilities for restoration purposes.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
If you have to bring the meter in for testing, do you swap it out, or
Yes.
put a new one in and test it and
Yes,
take it back? Or?
You would swap it out with a new meter, and part of this package includes additional spares to have for that purpose, so that you can keep up with the stock. And that's always gonna be recorded by the utility employees whenever they do a meter swap out. You have to read the ending reading and the beginning reading for the new meter that you're putting in.
You did say that this was you only received one bid,
Yes, sir.
and there is a process, I understand, where you contact Austin about the fact there's only one bid to make sure that we're properly following that. No, we don't have to do that anymore.
We have the documentation for the required advertising, which is public advertisement that's listed. And we actually had bid packages that we sent out to 15 different contractors and suppliers. And so most of them just chose not to bid.
Great, sound like we covered.
We're still under budget.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Just as a reminder, this new system is gonna allow, this is the one with the electricity that you're talking about right now?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is gonna allow everyone to check on their phone, similar to what Entergy and some of these other companies do, to be able to see the outages in their area and things like that that are really gonna help our customers. They're gonna be able to see their electricity, their bill and everything from their phone, correct?
That is the goal, and that's what the metering suppliers have told us that they would be able to do.
Any other questions? You have a motion?
I make a motion.
Second?
Ms. Horner, do you have any questions or discussions?
No.
Mayor?
None.
Mr. Holmes?
None.
Mr. Prosky?
No, sir.
So,
Ms. Horner?
May I ask one thing, as a point of clarification, Our recommendation was to include those additive alternates, for a total of $1,702,423.27. Is that what you're wanting to ask the council to approve?
That's my understanding. Is
Yes.
anybody- Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Horn, would you like to vote, please?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I want to thank the mayor and the council for allowing us to help serve with this project, and we look forward to serving you in future projects.
Thank you for all the information. Number 5, consider for approval, City of Jasper's third quarter investment report.
I make a motion to approve.
Ms. Horn, do you have any questions? Mr. Mayor?
I just wanna thank the finance department for the good work they're doing there.
No, sir.
All right, Ms. Horn, please vote. Mr. Mayor? Passes 4-0. Item number 6, consider approval calendar for regular call city council meetings and city hall holiday closures.
Standard, this is same as.
This year. Have a motion?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Horn, do you have any questions?
No.
Mr. Mayhew?
None.
Mr. Horn?
No, sir.
Please vote, Ms. Horn.
Aye.
Consider for approval annual Christmas pounds for city employees.
Make a motion to approve.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Horn, do you have any questions? Mayhew?
None.
No.
Okay. Ms. Horn, please vote.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, 4-0. Move on to item number 8. Consider for approval resolution appointing a nominee to the Jasper County Appraisal District Board of Directors for the 26-27 term.
I'd like to make a motion. I make a motion to nominate Councilman DeMarcus Holmes to the appraisal district, and all 129 votes be cast in his favor.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Sure.
This is just a nomination meeting, the voting will come later.
Okay, so it's just to nominate.
Correct.
And if I could ask a question real quick, since you're there, Greg. This was sent on August the 28th, and I believe the deadline is October the 15th. Why are we just now seeing this?
I just got it.
You just got
I
it.
just got it.
So even though it says the 28th, you didn't receive it on the 28th?
No,
Well,
you
it's
don't
too
know.
late to put it on the meeting.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes. As far as the one, I had one email come in from David Cease, that wanted to be nominated to the board from the council.
Yes, that was my only question, because it's August the 28th, but it's not September the
But our
28th.
meeting was on the 3rd, so we
Okay.
couldn't have it before then.
Okay,
And it's not due till tomorrow.
okay.
So we can.
Yeah, that was my question. It's due tomorrow, so that,
And we're gonna email it tonight.
and
they said
that'll
it'd
be fine. So right now, it's just a nomination, so I made a nomination for DeMarcus, and I believe Mamie seconded me.
Yeah. Motion and a second. Ms. Horn, do you have any discussion or question?
I guess my only discussion is, Mr. Holmes, do you want this job?
You good? You good?
No discussion. I'd be proud to have Mr. Holmes.
All right. Ms. Horn, would you like to start the voting?
Aye.
Motion approved, 4-0. Consider for approval variance request for 2007 Marshall Drive.
Yeah, I would like to table this at this time, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to physically get on the ground. There seems to be some question as to where this building is going to go as compared to the roadway. I think it may be a little more investigation if we approve it.
I second what you just said.
Or just table it.
I second what you said, Taylor. That's the front of the house right there. We don't know if he's talking about the front of the house right there, or if he's talking about his front door. In that part of the house.
Where is, I don't even know
Where you see it?
that's what I was off there. Do I have a motion to table, is that what I heard?
Yes.
I would like to hear from Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly, can you explain it to us?
Not all of it, I can explain a little of it. Jeremy's sick, his whole family's sick, they come down with something Friday, and so he could not be here. I'm just going off about what me and Brandon put together with it, because it says on here to be put in the front yard, so. Instead of the rear, for better access. Turns off. Take a ride.
Yeah, I don't see why this couldn't wait a month.
And there's not a deadline, there's no, you're not moving anything there or anything like that, it's, the table is gonna
As far
affect.
as I know, we can't put it on a special call, we can have one out probably next week, so. If it is, I can find out, Jeremy should be back tomorrow, the next week.
So we have a motion and a second to table.
Yes.
Ms. Horn, would you like a discussion?
None.
None. Ms. Horn, would you start voting, please?
Aye.
Okay, this table. Moving down to item number 10. Consider for approval, amend the city council's rules and procedures for the city of Jasper to include the following. All city of Jasper department supervisors will appear in person at a monthly regular call city council meeting from the podium to give department reports to the city council.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I would like to amend the motion.
You can't amend the motion.
I'd still like to do it.
Can I ask a question about the motion? Should we change it to directors and chiefs?
Well, actually, I have a couple of questions. I've only seen one librarian, and I've been a council member for a year and 5 months. And I've only heard anything about the library one time, and the city gives an enormous amount of money to the library, which I'm not against. But I would like to hear from the librarian. I would like to hear how many books she's buying, how did the new roof we had in the budget do? But yet, I don't see her. And so usually, we're just given these departmental reports and the department heads don't come in and report. And like I said, I've never seen her. I think we even appoint people to their board, correct? But never see a librarian. And so I feel like it would be good for the public to see all department heads. That's just my opinion.
She would be a director.
So she's just a director.
She's a director, yeah, she would be, you got
She needs to
Chief
come.
Foster, you
She would
got,
have to come, what he's saying, she would have to come, because she.
if you do all the supervisors, we're gonna have, 10 or 15 more chairs and paying overtime to a lot of it. They all work either for Lee or Bob, or for Garrett, or except for the librarian, and Lee Brumley, he's a director for the sanitation, so if we have those there, you'll have everybody that works for somebody at the city, they can give a report.
Yes, just as long as we would be able to hear from her. So any of these guys that you have sitting here could give us a report about the library and how
No,
many
she's a
books?
director, she
Okay.
if y'all change it.
She will come.
To chiefs,
Okay.
which is the police chief and the fire chief, and to directors, and the sanitation director and the library director, along with Bob, public works director, and Lee is the electrical and right-of-way director. That's everybody's supervisor under the city. How's that
Yes,
feel?
yes, as long as we hear from her, because I think it's so important, because how we have done it all this time is we're just giving departmental reports, and the citizens are asking, what's happening with this, what's happening with that. So I think they're really gonna appreciate all these guys. I appreciate you coming tonight and speaking before everyone and letting everyone know what's happening inside the city of Jasper. I know the citizens would appreciate it too. So we have a motion and a second?
Can I ask a question? So now you all coming, you get overtime?
Now, these are salaries.
Yeah,
Okay.
my understanding is if the supervisors come, that's overtime, but directors only. So if we could redo this for directors and that includes supervisors,
I'd say chiefs and directors.
chiefs and directors, I think that would be totally satisfactory. I don't know what the rest of you think.
Who made the motion?
As long as that will get everyone here. Yes, I made the motion. So if you want me to amend the motion to say all city of Jasper department supervisors, or you want directors?
Directors or chiefs, or chiefs and directors.
Directors or chiefs will appear in person. Liz,
And chiefs.
that's what you're asking for?
Yes, because they can answer
Yes.
any question you need, because they all have multiple departments underneath them.
Yes, I'm fine with amending my motion.
I second
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Horn, you have any questions or discussions?
No.
Mr. Mayor?
I'm happy with the amendments.
Okay, Ms. Hunter.
No, sir.
Ms. Horn, would you like to start our voting, please?
Aye.
Yes. The chiefs and.
And if one of them on vacation or not can't be here, one of theirs is below them can be here for that.
Okay. All right, item number 11, consider for approval, change the name of Graham Street to Lewis Street.
I make a motion.
I second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Horn? Any more discussion?
Yes, I have no issue with naming the street after the Lewis family. I think they do great work in the community. It's had a long history, not only Pastor Lewis, but his wife and children. And so I think it's totally appropriate. But I will ask my fellow council members to understand that changing a name on a street involves not only the city putting up a sign, the city database has to be updated, the city billing database in Utah has to be updated, the 911 database nationally has to be updated. So it's a big deal, so I hope we don't do this every meeting. I think it would be burdensome.
May I be recognized, Mayor? I would like to say that this was put on an agenda before you came on council. It has already been cleared with the 911 address and any property owners and anything that had to do with this. So it was tabled at that time, but absolutely it was researched. It was sent, I believe, to the Southeast Texas Regional Planning Commission. They do our 911 address, and I do not feel any council member would take that lightly, Mr. Mahar. So, Mr. Kelly, all of that paperwork you still have, correct? Yes, and so it absolutely is not gonna be done every day, and the paperwork is complete on this.
Good, sounds great.
Yes, sir.
Any more discussion, Ms. Horn?
This is probably about maybe a year ago.
No discussion.
I just gotta ask a question, because Graham stopped, it runs that little section there from Pollock.
That's
And
it, that's the section.
That's just that section, so it's not, you're gonna leave the other Grahams over there by Hempfield Street, and it helps on that.
When it was all brought up.
There's two sections of Graham.
Yes.
That's part of the reason that they wanted to redo it, because it's confusing the people, because if they go to Graham Street, it carries them up there by the rodeo grounds.
It does, it
And
jumps about.
this will clarify that also. We went through the whole process, with 911, Jeremy spent a lot of time on it also. The original name was too long, and so 911 Southeast Texas Regional Planning come back with, has to be Lewis Street to meet all of their satisfactions, so everything was good. But yes, it's just that one section down there by the old Sonic.
Any further discussion?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Horn, would you like to start the voting?
Aye.
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 We passed. 11-4-0, unanimous. Number 12, consider for approval allocating $25,000 from the Department of Tourism to fund the Independence Day Celebration fireworks event.
I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Does someone have any further discussions, questions? Right over.
Yes, I'm totally confused by this, sorry about that. It was my understanding at the last city council meeting, Mrs. Foster said that this was a project that she was taking on, that we would not need to have city funds to complete.
She said if they didn't do
And also, we're just now reallocating $25,000 without any stipulation as to where it goes, who it goes to, what contracts might be attached to that, or who should receive the money. If it's where the previous bidder, if you will, is not able to do it, or doesn't think that they shouldn't be doing it, perhaps we should open this up to other organizations, like the Noon Lions Club, that might want to do this public service project. But to just come up with $25,000 with no stipulations to it, I find it a little bit odd. This kind of smirks the good old boy buddy system thing, which we've been trying to avoid.
May I hear it?
Wouldn't it be all right if you come up and explain it to us again, how it's gonna be done? Ms. Foster, explain it to us how it's gonna be done.
Well, I think she did offer, but then I spoke to Mr. Kelly, and Mr. Kelly found out a price about the fireworks. Mr. Mahar, if I could speak to you and respond. I think the issue is that when we first allocated this money to the Department of Tourism, we were not aware that the Chamber of Commerce was gonna cancel the fireworks celebration. And when we had a meeting on September the 29th, I believe you were present, Mr. Kelly assured us that any event that we had here inside the city of Jasper would still take place, because we wanna make sure that it happens for the citizens. So I believe this is the amount, Mr. Kelly, that you believe will cover the fireworks for the event, correct? And I believe Ms. Foster has so generously offered to support the band and any additional funds that need to be raised. And I would like to thank KJS and Ms. Foster for that, because as you know, she did carry this event for many years before the city.
I'll just be volunteering. I will not get paid anything. It will strictly be for the fireworks and basically bring in audio equipment. Anything past this, I will get out and fundraise again. And Mr. Mahar, I want you to come help me, and you volunteer. You give me the first $1,000, sir. Because Mike always gives me.
I'll challenge you to give something to this community. I'll give 1,000, you meet.
Right there. I'll give 1,000. Okay?
Mayor and council, if the city writes the check for the fireworks, if y'all approve that, that will go directly to the
Exactly.
fire truck, the fire truck.
I trust you,
The
Mr. Kelly.
the fireworks supplier.
I trust you. You said it was 25,000. I trust you that it's 25,000, and I appreciate everything that you do.
When you say when this says reallocating, that means we're gonna take it from the tourism and put it.
Yes, that's the motion I made. That's the motion I made. I made a motion to remove $25,000 from the Department of Tourism, okay? And to reallocate that $25,000 to fund the Independence Day celebration fireworks event against all odds. Yes, sir, that is my motion.
And I said,
I'll call a question. I'll call a question, let's vote.
To call the question, you have to have a second.
I do have a second.
No,
Well, each person gets a chance to speak, then you have to call a second to do it by Robert's rules, we investigated since last time. Everybody gets a fair right to speak twice, and that's it, if we're gonna do it correctly.
So if you call the question, the vote isn't taken immediately?
No.
If you call the question, that motion to call the question has to have a second.
I did have a second with Mamie.
No, not your motion. Like when you say I call the question, someone.
Oh, so someone has to second when I call the question?
After each person gets to speak twice.
Yes.
Okay.
So each person will get.
If they wanna speak, if they don't wanna speak, then you go on and vote.
And going down the roll like this is also in Robert's Rules of Order?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Then we go on to this one, any discussions?
No.
I'm gonna check the rules. Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Actually, I applaud Ms. Foster for stepping forward and saying she would do this. I think very kind and very generous of us. I also think that, Mr. Lount is very generous to say he's put his money where his mouth is. I do not have his money, but I have a little bit of mine. So I'm glad he.
No, I said 1,000, Bob, meter to show.
I'm poor folks, sir.
How much is it?
I'm just.
When, where?
Call to order, I'm sorry.
When, where, I'm poor.
Call to order.
But I do have what I can afford.
I will point of order, but I don't think you can point of order. Can you?
Well,
I have no question.
I will.
thank you.
Mr. Holmes,
I have no question.
no question.
I have no questions.
Ms. Horn, would you like to, start our vote? Mr. Mayhew?
Are we doing aye, or are we doing, second round of discussion?
No, we're doing aye. We're
Nobody
voting.
wanted none on the first round.
No, the accountability.
Aye.
All right, we'll go ahead and do, item number 15, council time. Anyone have any discussion? Mayhew?
Again, I'd like to thank everyone who bothered to come out tonight. Thank you very much. I'd like to also thank those people who listened to us over the different programs. I'm watching you now. Thank you for that. Please know, those who are out there looking toward Jasper as a place to have a home and a family and a future, but we have a city that's so well run that we have zero debt. We charge less than we can for our utilities. Great place to live, great people to live with, and it's a lot less expensive than almost anywhere else you want to live. So please think of us for coming to our in our lifetime.
Anyone else? Any discussion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second. All in favor, Ms. Horn? Aye. Mr. Mayhew?
Aye.
Mr. Holmes? Aye. Mr. Crosby?